Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the human ship Starfire. She watched through the big window as they moved closer to the space station. The station was huge. It looked like a metal city floating in the darkness of space. Lights blinked, all over its surface like tiny stars. "Captain, we're getting close to Kepler 7 station," said Amy Carter from her seat at the communications panel. She was young but very good at her job. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "Good. This is it, everyone," Lisa said to her crew. "Today we meet aliens for the first time. Let's make sure we do this right." Ryan Brooks looked up from his engineering station. He was a big man with strong hands that knew how to fix anything. "All systems are working fine, Captain. The ship is ready." Lisa nodded. She felt nervous but tried not to show it. Humans had been waiting for this day for a long time. They had found radio signals from other worlds many years ago. Now they were finally going to meet the beings who sent those signals. The space station grew bigger as they got closer. It was built by 3 different alien races. Each part looked different. One section was all smooth curves and looked like it was made from black glass. Another part had sharp edges and red metal. The third section seemed to glow with its own light. "Captain, the aliens are sending us docking instructions," Amy said. "Follow them exactly," Lisa ordered. "We don't want to make any mistakes." The Starfire moved slowly into the docking bay. The ship was not very big compared to some of the alien ships they could see. It was built simple and strong. Everything on it was made to last and to be fixed easily. When they docked, Lisa felt the small bump as the ship connected to the station. She took a deep breath. "Okay, people, let's go meet our new neighbors." Lisa walked through the airlock with 5 other humans. Ambassador Kevin Stone led the group. He was a calm man who spoke many languages. Behind him came Dr. Helen Murphy, who studied old things. Pete Williams, their science officer, carried a small computer. Tyler Jackson, another engineer, brought some tools to show how human machines worked. The airlock opened, and they stepped into the alien station. The air smelled different, like metal and something sweet. The gravity felt a little lighter than Earth normal. 3 groups of aliens waited for them. Lisa tried not to stare, but it was hard not to. She had seen pictures, but seeing them in person was amazing. The first group looked like giant insects. They had 6 legs and 4 arms. Their skin was shiny and green. Their leader was called Vexthul. His big eyes moved independently as he looked at the humans. The second group looked like walking lizards, but much bigger than any lizard on Earth. They stood on 2 legs and had thick, scaly skin. Some of them had small horns on their heads. Their leader, General Krextar, was the biggest. He wore armor that looked like it was made of pure energy. The third group was the strangest. They looked almost like humans, but they glowed with soft, blue light. Sometimes their bodies seemed solid, and sometimes they looked like they were made of mist. Their leader was called Nimara. "Welcome, humans," said Vexthul. His voice made clicking sounds when he talked. "We are curious to see what your young species has accomplished." Kevin Stone stepped forward. "Thank you for meeting with us. We're honored to join the Galactic Federation." The aliens looked at each other. Some of them made sounds that might have been laughter. "Your ship is interesting," said General Krextar. His voice was deep and rough. "Very basic design. We have not seen such simple construction in many years." Dr. Murphy felt a little angry at the way he said it, but she kept quiet. Lisa noticed the insult too, but she stayed calm. "May we examine your technology?" asked Nimara. Her voice sounded like music, but there was something cold in it. "We are always interested in primitive methods," Kevin nodded. "Of course, we'd be happy to show you our systems." The aliens followed the humans back to the Starfire. As they walked through the ship, the aliens pointed at things and whispered to each other. Lisa could tell they were not impressed. Vexthul stopped at the engine room door. "This is your power source?" He looked at the fusion reactor through the window. "It is just controlled explosions, very dangerous and wasteful." Ryan Brooks, who had spent years working on that reactor, felt his face get red. "It's perfectly safe," he said. "We've been using this design for a long time." How long? Asked General Krextar. 10 years? 20? Longer than that, Ryan said, but the alien had already moved on. In the computer room, the aliens looked at the human computers and shook their heads. Binary systems, said Nimara with a sigh. Like counting with only 2 fingers. How do you process any complex information? Pete Williams wanted to explain how their computers worked, but Vexthol interrupted him. These screens and buttons, the insect alien clicked his mandibles. Physical controls? We stopped using such things long ago. Everything should be controlled, by thought alone. The aliens continued their tour, making comments about everything they saw. They called the human weapons primitive projectile devices. They said the life support systems were crude atmospheric manipulation. They even laughed at the way humans had to wear spacesuits. You still need physical protection from space? Asked General Krextar. Our bodies are enhanced. We can survive in vacuum for hours. By the end of the tour, Lisa felt frustrated. The aliens treated them like children who had barely learned to walk. Every human system was simple, or basic, or outdated, but Amy Carter noticed something the others missed. When the aliens thought the humans weren't looking, they studied the ship's systems very carefully, especially the old parts. And sometimes, she saw looks of confusion on their faces like they didn't understand something. As they walked back to the meeting room, Vexthul made his final judgment. Your species shows promise, he said to Kevin Stone. But you clearly need guidance. We can help you develop proper technology. Perhaps in a few hundred years, you will be ready for true advancement. The other aliens agreed. They offered to share their knowledge with the humans, to help them catch up to galactic standards. They spoke like teachers talking to slow students. Lisa looked at her crew. Ryan was angry. Pete looked hurt. Dr. Murphy was taking notes, but her pen moved very fast across the paper. Tyler just stared at the aliens with a strange expression. Kevin Stone thanked the aliens politely for their generous offers. But Lisa could see something in his eyes. He was planning something. As they prepared to return to their ship, Lisa heard Amy whisper to Ryan, "Did you notice how long they stared at the old control panels?" Ryan nodded slowly. Yeah. Almost like they'd never seen anything like them before. Lisa smiled for the first time since they'd docked. Maybe these aliens weren't as smart as they thought they were. The next morning, Captain Lisa Martinez called a meeting with her officers. They sat around a metal table in the ship's small conference room. Everyone looked tired and angry from the day before. They think we're stupid, said Ryan Brooks. His big hands made fists on the table. Did you hear them laughing at our reactor? I've spent 15 years making that thing perfect. They called our computers toys, added Pete Williams. But I noticed something strange. When they looked at our quantum processing unit, their expressions changed, like they recognized something but couldn't figure out what it was. Dr. Helen. Murphy put down her coffee cup. I've been thinking about this all night. Something doesn't add up. They act like they know everything, but some of their questions were odd. Lisa leaned forward. What do you mean? Well, when Vexthul asked about our manufacturing dates, he seemed surprised by Ryan's answer. And Nimara kept asking about our historical development methods. Why would that matter if our technology is so primitive? Kevin Stone, the ambassador, had been quiet until now. I have an idea, he said slowly. What if we challenge them to a demonstration? Each species shows off their best technology. It might teach us something useful. Amy Carter looked up from her notes. You think they'll agree to that? Oh, they'll agree, Kevin smiled. Their pride won't let them refuse, especially if we ask them to help us understand advanced technology. 2 hours later, they were back on the space station. The aliens had agreed to the demonstration immediately, just as Kevin predicted. They seemed excited to show the humans what real technology looked like. We will each demonstrate our finest achievements, said Vexthul, rubbing his 4 hands together. Perhaps you will understand the gap between your methods and ours. General Krextar laughed, showing sharp teeth. This will be educational for the young species. The first demonstration was by the Cathari. Vexthul led the humans to a large room filled with strange machines. Everything glowed with soft green light. The air hummed with energy. "Behold," said Vexthul, "our quantum processing matrix." A machine the size of a car suddenly came to life. Lights danced across its surface in patterns too fast to follow. Numbers and symbols appeared in the air like holograms. "This computer can think faster than 1,000,000,000 of your machines," Vexthul explained. "Watch." He gave the computer a math problem that would take human computers years to solve. The answer appeared in less than a second. But that was just the beginning. Vexthul showed them machines that could create any object from pure energy. The humans watched as a complex tool appeared out of nothing, built atom by atom in seconds. "We call this matter compilation," the alien said proudly. "We think of what we need and our machines create it. No factories, no raw materials, just pure thought made real." Then came the neural link demonstration. 2 Cathari volunteers sat in special chairs. Wires connected their heads to a large machine. "They are now sharing thoughts across space," Vexthul explained. "One is here, the other is on our homeworld 20 light years away. Yet they speak mind to mind as if they stand side by side." The humans watched as the 2 aliens controlled machines with their thoughts alone. No buttons, no screens, no voices. Just thinking, and things happened. Pete Williams took careful notes. He asked simple questions that made the aliens feel smart for answering them. But Lisa noticed that his questions were very specific, like he was looking for particular information. The Vorth demonstration was next. General Krextar led them to what looked like a weapons range. The walls were made of some kind of super-strong metal that gleamed like mirrors. "Our weapons do not throw simple projectiles like yours," Krextar said with contempt. "We have mastered the fundamental forces of the universe." A Vorth soldier stepped forward carrying what looked like a piece of art more than a weapon. It was beautiful, with flowing curves and crystal components that pulsed with inner light. The soldier aimed at a target made of the same mirror metal as the walls. When he fired, there was no sound, no flash, just a beam of pure energy that turned the target into glowing gas in an instant. "Plasma cannon," Krextar explained. "It breaks matter down to its basic components. Your bullets would bounce off our shields like raindrops." He showed them the shields next. A Vorth warrior stood perfectly, still while other soldiers fired energy weapons at him. The shots hit an invisible barrier around him and scattered like broken glass. "Personal shield generators," the general said. "They bend space and time around the user. Our warriors are nearly impossible to kill." The most impressive demonstration was their powered armor. A Vorth soldier put on what looked like a second skin made of living metal. Once it was on, he moved like lightning. He lifted objects that weighed tons. He walked through solid walls like they weren't there. "Our armor connects with the wearer's nervous system," Krextar explained. "It makes them stronger, faster, smarter. A single warrior in this armor could defeat 1,000 of your soldiers." Ryan Brooks asked questions about the power sources and the materials. The Vorth were happy to brag about their advanced technology. But Lisa saw Ryan making small marks in his notebook, some kind of code they had used before. The Zelani demonstration was the strangest of all. High Scholar Nimara took them to a room that seemed to exist in several dimensions at once. The walls curved in ways that hurt to look at. "We have moved beyond the need for physical technology," she said, her glowing form shifting like mist. "We control reality with pure consciousness," she demonstrated by walking through a solid wall. Then she picked up a heavy metal block without touching it, making it float in the air with her thoughts alone. "Matter is just energy moving slowly," Nimara explained. "When you understand this truth, you can reshape reality itself." 2 other Zelani showed how they could transfer their consciousness between bodies. One moment they were in their own glowing forms. The next, they had switched places completely. "Death has no meaning for us," Nimara said. "Our minds can exist in any suitable form. We have learned to store our consciousness in pure energy fields." The final demonstration was gravity control. Nimara changed the gravity in the room, making objects fall upward or sideways. She created small black holes that she controlled like pets. "Your species still fights against the universe," she said to the humans. "We have learned to work with its deepest laws. This is true advancement." After each demonstration, the aliens looked at the humans with pity and superiority. They offered to share their knowledge to help humanity grow up technologically. But Dr. Helen Murphy had been watching everything very carefully. She noticed things the others missed. The way the aliens sometimes hesitated before explaining something, how they asked odd questions about human manufacturing techniques, the strange looks they gave each other when they thought the humans weren't watching. As the demonstrations ended, Kevin Stone thanked all three species politely. "Impressive," he said. "Truly impressive. We have much to learn from you." "Indeed, you do," said Vexthul. "Perhaps in time your species will develop beyond these primitive methods." Kevin smiled. "Well, now it's our turn. We'd like to show you some human technology." The aliens looked amused. After seeing computers that worked by thought and weapons that controlled fundamental forces, what could the primitive humans possibly show them? "Of course," said General Krextar. "We are always interested in historical curiosities." "This should be educational," Nimara added, her form glowing brighter with amusement. As they walked back toward the human ship, Lisa caught Kevin's eye. He gave her a small nod. Whatever he was planning, it was time to put it into action. Amy Carter walked beside Dr. Murphy. "Did you notice how they kept asking about our development timeline?" she whispered. "Yes," Helen replied quietly. "And did you see how Vexthul's eyes went wide when Ryan mentioned our reactor design was very old? Almost like the age mattered. More than the technology itself." Lisa smiled to herself. The aliens thought they were so smart. But they were about to learn something very important about humans, something that would change everything. Captain Lisa Martinez stood in the main corridor of the Starfire with all three groups of aliens behind her. They looked bored and impatient, like adults watching a child's magic show. "Before we begin," Lisa said calmly, "I need to tell you something important about our ship." Vexthul clicked his mandibles. "Yes, we can see it is very simple construction, quite basic." "Actually," Lisa smiled, "the Starfire isn't our newest technology. It's our oldest." The aliens looked confused. General Krextar stepped forward. "What? Do you mean oldest?" "Dr. Murphy will explain," Lisa said, nodding to the archaeologist. Dr. Helen Murphy stepped forward with a small device in her hands. It looked like a simple scanner, but when she turned it on, the aliens' own instruments began beeping frantically. "This scanner can read the quantum signatures of manufactured materials," Helen said in a calm voice. "It tells us exactly when something was built. Would you like me to scan our ship?" The aliens looked interested now. Nimara's glowing form grew brighter. "Yes, show us this scanning method." Helen pointed the device at the wall beside her. Numbers appeared on its screen. She turned the device so everyone could see the display. "This wall was built 737 years ago," she said simply. The aliens stared at the numbers. Vexthul made a sound like clicking mixed with whistling. "That cannot be correct. Your species only achieved space travel recently." "Actually, no," said Pete Williams, stepping forward with his own scanner. "Humans have been in space for almost 800 years. Would you like to see more dates?" He scanned the floor, the ceiling, and the control panels. Every reading showed the same thing. The ship was incredibly old by galactic standards. General Krextar shook his big head. "This is impossible. Your technology is primitive. How could you build spaceships so long ago?" "That's the wrong question," said Kevin Stone, the ambassador. "The right question is, if we built this ship 700 years ago, what can we build now?" Ryan Brooks walked over to the main control panel. "See these switches and buttons you called primitive? They're not primitive, they're perfected." He began flipping switches, and the ship's systems came online one by one. But something was different this time. The lights didn't just turn on, they pulsed in complex patterns. The air itself seemed to hum with energy. We've had 7 centuries to perfect every system, Ryan continued. Every switch, every wire, every bolt has been tested and improved thousands of times. Nothing breaks because we've learned from every failure. Amy Carter sat at her communication station. When you asked about our development timeline yesterday, you thought we were a young species. But we've been studying the galaxy for longer than your current governments have existed. She pressed a few buttons, and the main screen came alive with star charts. But these weren't simple maps. They showed detailed information about every system within 1,000 light years. We've been watching you, Amy said quietly. All of you. For centuries. The aliens stepped back. Vexthul's 4 arms moved nervously. Watching us? But we never detected your ships. Tyler Jackson laughed. Of course you didn't. We didn't want you to. He walked to what looked like a storage panel and opened it. Inside were devices that made the aliens' instruments go crazy with sensor readings. Stealth technology, Tyler explained. Perfected over 700 years of sneaking around the galaxy. We can make our ships invisible to any detection method you use. Dr. Murphy pulled out a thick book and set it on a table. This is just volume 1 of our xenobiology studies. We've been cataloging every species in the galaxy for 6 centuries. We know your biology, your psychology, your technology, and your weaknesses. She flipped through pages showing detailed drawings and notes about Cathari biology, Vorth military, tactics, and Zelani energy patterns. We know that Cathari quantum computers overheat when processing certain mathematical sequences, she read from the book. We know that Vorth shields can't stop solid projectiles moving below a certain speed. We know that Zelani consciousness transfer leaves them vulnerable for exactly 2.3 seconds during the switch. The aliens looked at each other with fear and confusion. This wasn't what they had expected at all. Pete Williams walked to another panel and opened it to reveal banks of computers that looked nothing like the simple systems they had shown yesterday. Our computers aren't primitive, he said. They're so advanced that you don't even recognize them as computers. We moved beyond quantum processing 300 years ago. He activated the computers and suddenly the entire ship seemed to come alive. Information flowed across every surface. The walls themselves became displays showing calculations that made the aliens' quantum computers look like pocket calculators. What is this? Whispered Nimura, her glowing form flickering with uncertainty. 700 years of continuous development, Pete answered. While your species reached a plateau and stopped innovating, humans kept improving. Every generation, built on the work of the one before. Lisa walked to the center of the room. Your biggest mistake was thinking that simple means primitive. Our fusion reactor isn't crude, it's refined. 7 centuries of refinement. She gestured to Ryan, who began explaining the reactor's real capabilities. This reactor doesn't just provide power. It can be reconfigured for any purpose. Propulsion, manufacturing, weapons, shields. All from the same basic system that we've spent 700 years perfecting. The aliens watched in growing amazement as the humans demonstrated, system after system that was far more advanced than it appeared. Their simple life support could adapt to any alien atmosphere. Their basic navigation systems could plot courses through dimensions that the Federation couldn't even detect. But your weapons, General Krextar said weakly. They are just projectiles. Tyler smiled and pulled out what looked like a normal human pistol. Want to see what 700 years of projectile refinement looks like? He aimed at a steel plate and fired. The bullet didn't just penetrate the metal. It passed through it like it wasn't there, leaving a hole with perfectly smooth edges. Smart. Matter ammunition, Tyler explained. The bullet analyzes the target and adapts its properties to defeat any defense. Your energy shields that stop plasma beams? They can't even detect this because it's just regular matter. Until it decides not to be. Dr. Murphy opened another book. We've been preparing for this moment for 2 centuries. We knew that eventually we'd have to reveal ourselves to the galactic community. So we studied you. All of you. We know your languages, your customs, your politics. She showed them pages of detailed notes about Federation politics, trade routes, and military capabilities. We know about the secret war between the Cathari and the Zelani, she continued. We know about the Vorth rebellion in the outer systems. We know about the resource shortages you're all trying to hide from each other. The aliens looked shocked. These were secrets that even the Federation Council didn't know about all the other species. Amy turned from her communication station. We've been intercepting and decoding your communications for 500 years. Every message, every transmission, every secret signal. We understand your languages better than you do. She played a recording of Vex Thul speaking in what he thought was a secure Cathari military code. But the translation appeared instantly on the human screens. How? Vex Thul asked, his voice barely a whisper. Time, Lisa said simply. 700 years of time. While you were busy feeling superior to younger species, we were learning everything about you. Pete pulled up star charts showing human settlements throughout the galaxy. There were hundreds of them. Colonies, research stations, monitoring posts, all invisible to Federation sensors. We have more ships in space than all Federation species combined, Pete said. We have colonies, in systems you haven't even discovered yet. We've been expanding while you were stagnating. The aliens stood in stunned silence. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had just been turned upside down. General Krextar found his voice first. Why? Why reveal this now? Kevin Stone stepped forward. Because we've learned something important from watching you for so long. You need us. He gestured to the star charts. Your civilizations are failing. The Cathari are running out of rare elements for their quantum computers. The Vorth are facing population decline because their warriors keep dying in pointless battles. The Zelani are losing their ability to maintain physical form. The aliens shifted uncomfortably. Every problem Kevin mentioned was real, and supposedly secret. We can help, Lisa said. 700 years of experience has taught us how to solve problems like these. But only if you're willing to treat us as equals, not as primitive children who need guidance. The room fell silent, except for the humming of advanced human systems that the aliens were only now beginning to understand. Amy Carter's fingers danced across her communications panel as warning lights began flashing throughout the alien space station. The Federation's sensors were detecting something that shouldn't be possible. Captain, Amy said with a small smile, we're getting signals from the outer system. Should I put them on screen? Lisa Martinez nodded. Go ahead. I think our guests are ready to see the full picture. The main display activated, showing space around the Kepler 7 station. At first it looked empty except for a few distant stars. But as Amy adjusted the sensors, shapes began appearing in the darkness. Ships, dozens of them, then hundreds. Vex Thul made a sound like breaking glass. Those ships, they weren't there before. Our sensor showed empty space. Your sensor showed what we wanted them to show. Amy replied calmly. We've been here the whole time. We just turned off our stealth systems. The alien ships on screen were unlike anything the Federation had ever seen. They were sleek and dark, built for speed and invisibility. Some were as small as fighters. Others were massive vessels that dwarfed even the largest Vorth battleships. General, Krextar stared at the display. How many ships do you have here? Just our local patrol fleet, said Captain Martinez. About 400 vessels. This is actually one of our smaller formations. Pete Williams pulled up another display showing ship classifications. We have scouts, research vessels, manufacturing ships, hospital ships, colony builders, and yes, warships, lots of warships. The aliens watched in growing shock as more information appeared on the screens. The human fleet wasn't just big. It was organized in ways that showed centuries of military experience. You have been preparing for war, accused General Krextar. We've been preparing for survival, Lisa corrected. 700 years in space teaches you that the galaxy is a dangerous place. We learned to be ready for anything. Dr. Helen Murphy opened yet another thick book. This one contains our records of every military conflict in Federation space for the past 6 centuries. We've been watching your wars, studying your tactics, learning from your mistakes. She showed them detailed battle maps and analysis of major conflicts. The humans had recorded everything, down to individual ship movements and weapon effectiveness. The Cathari-Zalani Border War of 2847, Helen read. 73 battles over 18 months. The Cathari won because the Zalani relied too heavily on consciousness transfer and left their physical forms undefended. Nimura's glowing form flickered with alarm. That war was classified. How could you possibly know those details? We were there, said Tyler Jackson simply. Not openly, but we were there. Human observer ships recorded every engagement. Amy brought up tactical displays showing the positions of human ships during various Federation conflicts. They had been present at every major battle for centuries, watching and learning, but never revealing themselves. We've seen how your species fight, Ryan Brooks added from his engineering station. The Cathari rely on overwhelming computational power. The Vorth use brute force and superior firepower. The Zalani depend on reality manipulation and psychological warfare. And what do humans use? Asked Vexthul nervously. Ryan smiled. Everything. 700 years of studying every fighting style in the galaxy. We adapt to whatever the situation requires. Pete Williams activated another system, and the display showed human colonies throughout the galaxy. The map was covered with red dots representing human settlements. We have 317 colonies, Pete announced. 48 research stations, 67 manufacturing centers, 23 major fleet bases, all of them invisible to Federation sensors. The aliens stared at the map in disbelief. Human settlements existed in systems they thought were empty, on planets they thought were uninhabitable, in regions of space they considered too dangerous to explore. This colony, Dr. Murphy pointed to a red dot near Cathari space, has been studying your quantum technology for 200 years. We know how to build your computers better than you do, she pointed to another dot. This research station has been analyzing Vorth energy weapons since before your current military doctrine was written. We can manufacture plasma cannons that are twice as efficient as yours. A third dot appeared near Zalani territory. And this facility has been studying consciousness transfer for 3 centuries. We understand how your minds work better than you understand them yourselves. General Krextar's voice was barely a whisper. You've been infiltrating our space for centuries. Not infiltrating, Kevin Stone corrected. Coexisting. We've been living alongside you without you ever knowing we were there. We've watched your civilizations grow and change while remaining completely hidden. Amy pulled up communication logs showing centuries of intercepted Federation transmissions. Trade negotiations, military orders, diplomatic messages, personal communications. The humans had been listening to everything. We know about the Cathari food shortage crisis that you're hiding from the other species, Amy said, reading from the logs. Your quantum computers require so much energy that you can't maintain adequate food production. Vexthul's forearms trembled. That information is classified at the highest levels. We know about the Vorth genetic degradation problem, Amy continued. Your warrior enhancements are breaking down your natural biology. Your birth rates are dropping every year. General Krextar stepped backward. Impossible. We've told no one about this. And we know about the Zalani consciousness fragmentation, Amy finished. Your people are losing the ability to maintain stable physical forms. Some of your population has already been permanently lost to the energy dimensions. Nimara's glow dimmed significantly. How can you know these things? We've shared this with no other beings. Dr. Murphy looked up from her books. Because we've been watching you for 700 years. We've seen the patterns. We've tracked the changes. We've recorded everything. Tyler activated a manufacturing display. Our industrial capacity is larger than the entire Federation combined. We can build ships faster than you can count them. We can manufacture resources that your species desperately need. The display showed human factories in deep space, on asteroids, and hidden inside planets. They had been building steadily for centuries while the Federation thought they were alone in the galaxy. Why are you showing us this? Vexthul asked. Why reveal your capabilities now? Lisa walked to the center of the room. Because your civilizations are dying and ours is thriving. The Federation is collapsing under the weight of its own stagnation. But it doesn't have to. She gestured to the star maps showing human colonies. We've learned how to survive and grow over centuries of expansion. We've solved the problems that are destroying your species. Pete brought up technical displays showing human solutions to Federation problems. We have sustainable energy sources that don't require rare elements. We have genetic treatments that can reverse biological degradation. We have consciousness stabilization technology that can help energy beings maintain physical form. The aliens looked at the displays with a mixture of hope and fear. But there's more, Ryan said, activating the ship's deep sensors. We've been exploring parts of the galaxy that the Federation doesn't even know exist. The star map expanded to show regions beyond Federation space. Human settlements existed in areas marked as unexplored on Federation charts. We've found resources out there that your species need, Ryan continued. Entire star systems rich in rare elements, planets suitable for colonization, energy fields that could power your civilizations for millions of years. Dr. Murphy opened her largest book yet. And we've found other species, hundreds of them, civilizations that are older and more advanced than the Federation. Some friendly, some hostile, some completely alien to our understanding. The aliens stared at the book in shock. It contained detailed studies of species they had never heard, of technologies they couldn't imagine, and threats they didn't know existed. The galaxy is much larger and more dangerous than you realize, Lisa said seriously. The Federation controls only a tiny part of it, but humanity has been exploring and mapping the rest for centuries. Kevin Stone stepped forward. We're showing you all this because we want to offer the Federation a choice. Continue stagnating and eventually die out, or join with humanity as true partners in exploring and settling the galaxy. Partners? General Krextar asked. You mean servants? You clearly have all the power, Lisa shook her head. We mean partners. Your species have knowledge and abilities that we value. But you need to understand that humanity isn't the junior species seeking guidance. We're the experienced ones offering help. Amy turned from her station. Captain, we're getting signals from Fleet Command. They're asking if we should reveal the homeworld defense grid. The aliens looked confused. Homeworld defense grid? Lisa smiled. Earth isn't defenseless while we're out exploring. We learned long ago never to leave our home unprotected. The display showed the solar system around Earth. What the aliens had assumed was empty space was actually filled with defensive installations that had been invisible to their sensors. Thousands of weapon platforms, shield generators, and automated defense ships surrounded humanity's birth world in layers of protection that extended far beyond the outer planets. 700 years of engineering, Pete explained. No hostile for. The silence in the room stretched for long minutes as the three alien species tried to understand what they had just learned. Captain Lisa Martinez watched their faces carefully, seeing the exact moment when the full implications finally hit them. Vex Thul was the first to speak, his voice much quieter than before. Your computers. They're not primitive at all, are they? Pete Williams shook his head. We stopped using quantum processing because we developed something better. Our computers work with the fundamental structure of reality itself. Quantum processing looks crude compared to what we use now. The Cathari scientist's forearms drooped. His people had built their entire civilization around being the galaxy's computer experts. Now he was learning that humans had surpassed them centuries ago and made their greatest achievement look like an old toy. Show me, Vex Thul whispered. Pete activated one of the ship's real computers. The air in the room seemed to shimmer, and suddenly everyone could see the mathematical structure of space-time itself. Equations flowed through the air like living things, showing how the ship manipulated reality to move faster than light, to remain invisible, to exist in multiple dimensions at once. We call it reality programming, Pete explained. Instead of calculating what we want to happen, we directly rewrite the rules of physics in small areas. Your quantum computers work with probability. Our computers work with certainty. General So, Krexter stepped forward, his scaly hide pale with shock. Our weapons. You said they were primitive too. Tyler Jackson nodded. Energy weapons are limited by the speed of light and the laws of thermodynamics. We learned to work around those limitations long ago. He pulled out what looked like a simple human rifle. But when he activated it, the weapon began to glow with inner light. "This doesn't fire energy or matter," Tyler explained. "It fires compressed space-time. The projectile arrives at the target before it's actually fired. Your shields can't stop it because it never travels through the space between the weapon and the target." The Vorth general staggered backward. His people had spent millennia perfecting energy weapons and defensive shields. But humans had moved beyond energy entirely, into manipulating the fabric of space itself. "Our armor," Krextar said desperately. "Surely our enhancement technology is still superior." Ryan Brooks smiled sadly. "Your armor enhances the body you were born with. Ours replaces it entirely when needed." He touched a control on his sleeve, and his appearance began to change. His skin became metallic, his muscles grew larger, his eyes began to glow with their own light. "This isn't a suit," Ryan explained as his transformation completed. "This is my backup body. We learned centuries ago that biological forms have limits, so we learned to build better ones." He changed back to his normal appearance. "Every human has multiple bodies stored in quantum storage. If this one is damaged or killed, I wake up in a new one with all my memories intact. Death is just an inconvenience to us now." Nim Ara's glowing form flickered wildly. "But consciousness transfer, that is our greatest achievement. Surely you cannot surpass the mastery of mind itself." Dr. Helen Murphy opened her largest book to a section marked Consciousness Studies. "Your people transfer consciousness between existing forms," Helen said gently. "That's impressive, but limited. We learned to create new forms of consciousness entirely." She activated a device, and suddenly there were two of her standing in the room, both identical, both clearly alive and thinking. "This isn't a copy," both versions of Helen said at the same time. "We're both equally real. We can split our consciousness when we need to be in multiple places, then merge back together later." The second Helen disappeared and the first one smiled. "We can also back up our minds across light years instantly, exist as pure thought when necessary, or merge multiple consciousnesses together to solve complex problems. Your species mastered consciousness transfer. We mastered consciousness itself." The three alien leaders looked at each other with growing despair. Every achievement their civilizations were proud of had been surpassed by humans centuries ago. But why? Vexthul asked desperately. "Why hide all this? Why pretend to be primitive?" Ambassador Kevin Stone stepped forward. "Because we learned something important during our 700 years of expansion. Advanced civilizations tend to destroy less advanced ones, either on purpose or by accident." He gestured to the star charts showing human colonies. "We've watched dozens of species rise and fall. The pattern is always the same. A civilization develops advanced technology, becomes proud and careless, then either destroys itself or gets destroyed by something even more advanced. We decided to take a different path," Lisa added. "We would grow slowly and carefully, learning from everyone else's mistakes. We would watch and study instead of conquering. We would help where we could without revealing our true capabilities." Dr. Murphy showed them records of human interventions throughout history. "We've secretly helped dozens of species survive disasters. We've prevented wars by sabotaging weapons shipments. We've shared technology indirectly by leaving discoveries where scientists would find them." Amy looked up from her communications panel. "We've been the galaxy's secret guardians for centuries, protecting younger species, studying older ones, and preparing for the day when we would finally reveal ourselves." "And why is today that day?" General Krextar asked. Lisa's expression became serious. "Because our long-range sensors have detected something coming. Something that will threaten every species in the galaxy, including us." The main display changed to show the edge of known space. Strange signals pulsed in the darkness beyond. "There's another galaxy approaching ours," Pete explained. "It will arrive in approximately 50 years, and it's inhabited by something that makes all our civilizations look like children playing with toys." The aliens stared at the display in horror. The approaching galaxy was massive, and the energy signatures it gave off suggested technology beyond anything they could imagine. We've been preparing for this encounter for 2 centuries, Lisa continued. Building fleets, developing new technologies, establishing defensive positions, but we can't do it alone. Kevin stepped forward. We're revealing ourselves now because we need allies. Not servants or subjects, but true partners. The Federation species have capabilities that complement our own. He looked at each alien leader in turn. Cathari computational abilities could help us understand the approaching threat. Vorth military experience could improve our defensive strategies. Zilani consciousness mastery could help us communicate with truly alien minds. But, Lisa added firmly, this partnership only works if you accept that humanity isn't the junior species. We're not children seeking guidance. We're the experienced civilization offering to share our knowledge with younger species. The 3 alien leaders whispered among themselves in their own languages. The humans waited patiently, knowing that this moment would determine the future of the galaxy. Finally, Vexthul spoke for all of them. We need time to process this. Everything we thought we knew about the galaxy has changed. Our governments will need to be informed, added General Krextar. This changes all our strategic calculations. Nimara's form had stabilized, but her voice was shaky. How do we know? You won't simply conquer us now that your secret is revealed? Lisa smiled. Because if we wanted to conquer you, we would have done it centuries ago. We've had the capability to defeat the entire Federation for longer than your current governments have existed. She gestured to the displays showing human capabilities. We're revealing all this because we want partners, not subjects. The approaching galaxy represents a threat that will require every species working together to survive. Dr. Murphy closed her books. We've spent 700 years learning about the galaxy. Now we're ready to help the galaxy learn about what's coming. Ambassador Kevin Stone stepped forward with a formal document. The United Human Federation officially requests to join the Galactic Federation as full members, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. He paused, then added, and we formally invite the Federation to join us in preparing for the greatest challenge any of our species has ever faced. The alien leaders looked at the document, then at each other, then at the humans who had just revealed themselves to be the galaxy's oldest and most advanced civilization. This will require extensive discussions, Vexthul said slowly. Of course, Lisa agreed. But while your governments debate, our scientists are ready to begin sharing information immediately. Time is more precious than you realize. Amy turned from her station. Captain, we're receiving messages from our colonies throughout the galaxy. They're all standing by to begin cooperation protocols with Federation species. The aliens realized that hundreds of human settlements were already positioned near their worlds, ready to begin open contact the moment the word was given. As the meeting ended and the aliens prepared to return to their ships, General Krextar turned back to Lisa. Why did you really choose now to reveal yourselves? He asked. Lisa looked out at the stars through the ship's window. Because we've been alone for 700 years. We've been the galaxy's secret protectors, its hidden guardians, its silent watchers. But what's coming is too big for us to face alone. She turned to face the alien general. We've spent centuries learning to.